Okay, candidates. First of all, I want to welcome Mike Leahy, running for District 1? 2. Okay, very good. I want to welcome Mary Jane Garrego, running for District 3. John Nicoletti, running for District 2. See, I can remember Mike. And then we also have Jay Pendergraft running for District 4. Thank you for being here. Then here's how the rules are for our candidate forum tonight. Again, this is a candidate forum where they will be answering questions. It is not a time for debate, nor will we be taking responses if their name is, if they mention somebody else's name. We always want them to answer the specific questions, not say how somebody else stands on it. We want to know how they stand. Okay? Each candidate will have a 3-minute opening statement. You have 1 minute to answer each question. Some of the questions will be for just one candidate, and some questions will be for all candidates. We're going to have about 8 or 9 questions, and then we're going to take about a 10-minute break. During that break time, get a glass of water, get a bottle of water, refresh, and we're going to have the audience have an opportunity to write any questions they would like submitted to the candidates as well. We will have 3x5 cards for you, and we also have copies of the questions that will be asked this evening so that you don't have to repeat the questions again. Okay, so if you're interested when we take the break of asking a question, please go back again to Marcy. She'll have a 3x5 card for you, plus a list of the questions, so you can use that as a reference. The candidates then will have a 2-minute closing statement, and we'll go from there. Any questions, candidates? Okay, very good. We have asked Pat and Bob to ask the questions. The questions were put in there randomly. They'll draw them randomly. As I stated, some are for an individual and some of them for all. So would you go ahead and ask your first question? We'll start with Mike and work our way down. Oh. I need to follow my rules, don't I? I'm sorry. Opening statements, and we'll start with Mike. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Marysville, you guys hear me? Marysville is in crisis, and our Yuba County officials have done little to help out our city restore its true path. The residents of Marysville deserve a supervisor who will listen to their needs and concerns. When I was appointed to the Marysville Planning Commission last year, it was rapidly clear that I could not make lasting changes and that we needed. And so Marysville needs an advocate at the county level, because if Marysville fails, it will also take down with it Yuba County. I've been married to my wife for 35 years. You can't hear me?
Testing.
A little bit closer.
Hello.
Sorry about that. I've been married to my wife for 35 years, and we work here locally with small businesses. We got 3 children, 5 grandchildren, and they're great. We fell in love with Marysville, so we have decided to live here and move here. We volunteer for the Special Olympics every year. I like to help Marysville senior high school students as a business mentor and coach. And I served on little leagues and boards for years. I support term limits for there it is. I support term limits for Yuba County positions, because people who stay in office too long tend to forget who they represent. My campaign slogan is Marysville Love. It's a play on words. The play on words means cowboy. It's like cowboy up. When we're facing an insignificant, a really big challenge, that's when we need to cowboy up. Right now, we need to Marysville up. I intend on being the voice of the people and listening to what the people want to say, because we need representatives that listen to what the people have to say before they make the decisions. So please help me spread the word. Vote Mike Leahy for Yuba County Supervisor, District 2.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mary Jane Garrego. I represent the 3rd District in Yuba County. A little bit about me. I don't know if you know our family, but we own Duke Steiner, and we have for over 50 years. My parents came here from Sacramento, and brought us 3 kids, and my parents didn't believe in babysitters, so we always went to the restaurant every weekend and worked with the family. And really, that really taught us a lot of great values and about how to earn a dollar, and that work ethics are really important. And so my life was pretty much like it was going to be the path of the family business. But after the 86 and 97 flood, my parents was devastated by the restaurant in Linda and then the residents in 97. And I felt at that time that Yuba County could use some help. They could use some leadership and some business sense on the board. And that's when I made the run for county supervisor in 2001. I've been there for 16 years, 4 terms, and I'm going for my 5th. And really what it is about continuity. It's about experience, it's about leadership, it's about vision, and really it's about jobs, bringing economic development. Through those 2 levee failures, we lost lots of businesses and hundreds of jobs. And it's time to reinvest in our infrastructure, make sure that our citizens are safe, that our businesses are protected, and that you can not only live in Yuba County, but you can work in Yuba County, you can develop businesses in Yuba County. And that's been my biggest task is infrastructure, improving roads, levees, and so forth, and making it easier for businesses to come to Yuba County. So I'll leave it at that.
Good. Good evening, John Nicoletti. I would first like to thank you very much for coming out tonight, and especially to the year-round efforts that the local Tea Party membership provides. Bob, I think you and your family in the Tea Party here do a great job for our community. I appreciate your commitment to service.
Thank you.
So I come from a independent business background. My family got here in 1968. We were Beal transplants with the SR-71 program. Pops was into food services. I was born into it, so still get a lot of joy in serving people in our community today through that process. So one thing I learned through independent business was that in the local election, it makes a very serious difference to operators as to who actually is making decisions at the leadership level. And when the government center was taken from the private sector and taken from a retail contribution status and moved into a non-tax paying entity and just gave government this newly remodeled building, it took $250,000 a year away from the city of Marysville's annual income that they work off of. That was significant. The entire city of Marysville's leadership turned out at a supervisor meeting that I was at and spoke against it and asked for relief from the city or from the county because there are no other places in this community where you can take up 4 blocks. I mean, which 4 blocks of beautiful Marysville do we want to demolish to create another retail center? So it's not likely going to happen. And actually on that night, I would say that Mary Jane Griego was the only person who said, take a look at the community calling out here. Maybe we shouldn't be rushing. Maybe we should study this a little bit more. And she was the only one that voted to delay, and therefore it passed. And that caused me, as a local independent business, to say, you know, our community needs every resource we can get our hands on. And it is of concern to me that government owns more property in the city of Marysville than private sector do, particularly in the commercial centers, where taxes can be generated and we can find prosperity. So it will always be a challenge in the city of Marysville. So coming to the Board of Supervisors, I found that I could have a better effect in reaching out for those needs in the city of Marysville. I love the city of Marysville, and I love serving this community. So it's going to continue far into the future for me. The title is not as important to me as it is that we are connected to our community and serving to the best of our ability. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming. First, I'd like to thank the Marysville Tea Party for this opportunity to tell my views of my campaign, and thank you. For those who don't know me, I'm Jay Pendergraft. I've been married for 26 years, and I arrived here in the Beal area, or the Marysville area in Yuba City and Yuba County area in 1989, where I was stationed at Beal Air Force Base as active duty Air Force law enforcement officer, where I stayed and continued to do my service until I retired in 2006. At that time, I went home in uniform, and the next day came back as a DOD employee and still work out at the base of the same job. I was very lucky. Soon after I arrived here, though, I started getting involved in the community. I worked on the Bill Little League for about 7 or 8 years, where I coached. I was a board member, manager, did various things until my children got out of it. Soon after that, they went to the high school in 1989, and I started going to the home games and started helping in the concession stand and began to work with the Wheatlawn High School Booster Club. I started cooking at all the home games and have been until currently. I'm going to do it again this year. So it's about 24 years. Well, a couple of years after that, my son was a senior, and I went on a senior trip to chaperone. I liked it. Patty Engels, a longtime teacher out at Wheatland, she's been doing it since 1972. She said, "Jay, I need a hand." I said, "That's not a problem." So I stayed as a chaperone on the Wheatland High School senior trip until 2 years ago, when it was taken away from the school and given to the parents. So I enjoyed that too. I enjoy children. As you know, my hair is long right now. It's not because I'm turning into a hippie. It's because I'm actually transforming. I am a real bearded Santa, and I will grow my beard out here starting next month. I've been doing that since I retired in 2006. Again, I go back to the community. I do the Wheatland the Wheatland tree lighting. I do the Bill tree lighting. My cards are over there. Since 2006, I actually get into U2 with a pilot, and we taxi down the taxiway and come into about 500 or 600 children, where I let every one of them sit on my lap for the day. So, as you can see and hear, my community involvement is huge, because this community is very important to me. You can also hear by all these dates and times that I've given that I am committed. I am not just a person that says, "Oh, let me go and do this so I can get the recognition." That's not me. So I would enjoy and be privileged to have your vote for this campaign this year, and I would be honored to serve you. As I've served our nation, now I'm ready to serve our county. Thank you.
Thank you, all candidates. We certainly appreciate that. And thank you, audience, for keeping me on toe about making sure that we have the opening statements. We appreciate that. We'll go ahead and begin the questions. We have 8 questions, and at the end of those questions, we'll take our break. So Pat, if you go ahead and begin, and we'll again begin with Mike.
Oh, okay, I thought Bob was gonna go first, but
That's
that's
okay.
okay.
Go for it.
I can. Sacramento Area Council of Governments, SACOG, is a council of governments, COG, formed in 1980, that is state approved but not mandated. It is made up of 6 local counties: Sacramento, Yolo, El Dorado, Placer, Sutter, and Yuba. The board consists of a representative of county supervisors and city council members. This agency coordinates transportation and land use planning and funding for the Sacramento region. Do you support regional agency control of local funding for transportation and local land use planning and funding? Please explain your opinion. It's for you, Mike.
Thank you. The question about SACOG, a very detailed question. Do I support the coordination of that? At this point, it's been working pretty good for the outcome for Yuba County. One of the minor things that we tend to forget is SACOG needs Yuba County more than Yuba County needs SACOG, because without us, their numbers would not, for the EPA standards, they could not actually continue to exist. So I do believe we have a bit of leverage that we should be able to wield. So that's what I believe in.
Okay, thank you.
This is a question for all of you. What do you see as the main problem facing Yuba County government, and what will you do to address this problem? I'll start with Mary Jane.
Well, there's a lot of problems, but I think really what it boils down to is a lack of businesses and jobs for our families. I mean, You can look down the highway, 65, 70 going in both directions at 6 o'clock in the morning, and those headlights are going outside of Yuba County. We need to focus on the infrastructure in order to bring manufacturing, good high-paying jobs in this community, so that families don't waste their quality of life on the highways, risking their life actually, going out of town every day. I talk to a lot of folks in the restaurant early in the morning when I'm there, and they're headed out to the Bay Area, to San Jose, and other places. So really bringing, those jobs back to this community, having people have their quality of time here. They can focus on civic organizations, PTA, and their, their faith-based organizations, so they can spend time in our community. That's a big problem.
Thank you. So I will agree with Mary Jane. I think that our economic independence is at a critical state. It's hard for me to understand the comfort level that our communities tend to have with double-digit unemployment. The nation is at 5%, the state is at 7%. The only way we're going to turn this around is to not only encourage economic development through the expansion of the workforce and taking advantage of land that has been designated in our general plan to provide for those issues, but we must actually do more than recruit and provide these affordable land locations. We have to actually create incentives that make sense in the world that's relevant for those employers today. I am happy to note that Yuba County has experienced great expansion in economic development in the past couple of years. And it was a result of several years of hard work. But we did just close for an approved processing plant at the airport. That'll involve 50 to 100 new employees. So exciting to see that we're in an upward curve and we continue to move that way. Thank you.
Being on the Wheatland City Council and current mayor right now, I've dealt with a lot of this for 14 years. Here's what it comes down to in my position, I think. In 2008, the city of Wheatland did a vision, and that gave the city and the residents and the employees a place and a where to go. We laid it out, and yes, it may change with technology and time, but it's given us a footprint of where we need to go and what we want to do. Yuba County needs direction as well. I think coming in and doing a vision and pointing some things out so that people know where we're going would be one way to do that. What that's also going to do is it's going to open up some of these areas where we will designate as industrial areas, where we want that, where the prime areas are for that. We have the 70 and the 65 corridor. Let's use that. We have the airport. Planes can land and take cargo out of here. We got the railroad. We've got all these things that we can use. The Rancho Road area would be an excellent place. So I think getting in there and getting a vision and a plan so that people know what we're going to do. Thank you.
Now, what's facing us is one of the challenges that we're not really looking at. Yuba County needs to be more responsive. They need to actually listen to the people. They need representation that actually focuses on what the people want, and not really what, continue to create issues after issues after issues. One of the things we could do right now is make our county government more robust and actually help the growth is to actually get online and make a more robust presence online. So when jobs come up in the county and associate other stuff, we can immediately put it online and get a more robust interaction with the community. That and listening to what people have to say.
This one will start with John, and it's just for John.
Okay.
Annually, unemployment in the Bi-County area remains near 20% when you include those who have given up looking for work. What can you, as a supervisor, do to increase the potential for job opportunities in your district and the county?
So recently, we put a capstone on a project known as Magnolia Ranch. That was an 8-year effort to work in an employment village environment to expand our workforce dramatically. We had several companies that were interested in the Highway 65 corridor. but they're not interested in investing large sums of upfront money to create a sewage plant hookup. And so when we were able to craft together a way to do that in ways to develop a project that met with Beal's needs and standards, that met with the expansion capabilities, it was the first chance we had to actually turn the corner and dramatically impact and in a very positive way improve our commercial economic basis. The other thing that we see that is really concerning is that the numbers for our homeless communities continue to rise. We are beating it back, but a lot of it has to do with underemployment. That since the collapse of the economy, people haven't been hired back, and they haven't been hired back full time. So focusing that issue is something we've been working on very hard in the last half a year.
What is your position on eminent domain? Should it be used to take private property for use by developers for the purpose of raising local tax revenue?
Thank you. I understand in some cases eminent domain may have to be used. However, I think that negotiation, talking, even getting some people, you know, in the Air Force as a cop, I was a hostage negotiator. And I learned through hostage negotiation that it could be the person that goes and talks to the person who they're wanting the property from. I think sometimes it could be different people, it could be different approach, it could be different things. How you got to talk to people and explain to them. When I took over in Wheatland, many residents got mad because we wanted to raise the water rates, but they didn't understand that we were raising the water rates because the pipes were 120 years old and collapsing. They thought it was the new development coming in, and the new development caused those problems. And so you sit down and talk to these people for 30 or 20 or 30 minutes, an hour, I don't care, and you explain to them and get them to understand, and then they started understanding. So I think anything can be worked out. I think that it's approached and trying and different people in different ways. And I'm willing to do that. I'm a very patient person. Thank you for that question.
Okay, this question will be for Mike. Yuba County has a known reputation of having extremely burdensome fees and permits for private property owners and businesses. What would you do to rein in out-of-control building permit fees and seemingly unnecessary home improvement permits?
Thank you. One of the toughest parts is, as a supervisor, I will be one of 5 votes. But with the efforts I can make, we can actually regionalize some of the fees and work together with the different, because there are different agencies that are involved with each permit in the county area. And so we could actually work with them to suggest we make it simpler and make it a one-stop shop. And that would actually help the economic development throughout the whole county.
What is your definition of the rule of government, Marianne?
Mary Jane. I'm sorry, what was that again?
What is your definition of the rule of government?
The role of government. Okay. It's to represent the people. It's to represent the people in regards to budgetary items, to enter into contracts, to make public improvements, to be a part of the public safety discussion, is to represent the folks on those particular issues.
Okay, this is a question for all of you, and it just requires a simple yes or no. Do you support Yuba County becoming part of the proposed state of Jefferson? And we'll start with John.
It's a big discussion, Pat. To give a simple yes or no is odd. Do I like libertarian and independence ways? I do. Is there a feasible way to really invoke the state of Jefferson that has to be an act of Congress? It hasn't made it there. It made it to Congress and didn't make it through, you know.
Again, I think I'm with John.
Feel free to comment.
Yeah, by all means.
We're just trying to keep it short.
It's a big issue, and it's a founding father issue, actually. You know, when they started finding the United States and all these states were divided and stuff, there was many things that was took into account for those as well. Do I support Jefferson? In one regard, I can say yes. In another regard, I can say no. I think, again, any plan needs to be well thought out. It needs to be planned and needs to be done correctly. Because when you do something correct, then you don't have as much recourse, and you don't have as much argument. So I think if it's done right, absolutely. But if it's not going to be done right, then no.
Mike?
Thank you. I'm actually running to be the voice of the people and listen to what the people say. So if this comes forth and we have an open vote on it, and the people decide that that's the direction they want to go, that is what I will represent. So that's what I interpret to being the voice of the people.
Mary Jane?
So for me, it sounds, you know, for what I know about the state of Jefferson, it's about representation. You know, it's about being heard from your lawmakers. And it seems like, you know, I represented the 17 Northern California counties through the LAFCO process. And I'll tell you, we're fiercely independent. And, you know, we're not the population of Southern or the Bay Area. And so that's the frustration of the state of Jefferson. But with that being said, we're the 8th largest economy in the world. And by dividing the state up, well, we just wouldn't have the clout that we have today. And so I can't support that. I think that representation needs to be heard from the North State. It needs strong leadership, and it needs to, you know, to have solutions of what we have up here as far as environmental issues or the economy or industry. We need a leader to lead us for the North State.
This is another all question. What one ordinance or policy would you change to bring more jobs to the area?
I think, and thank you for the question, but I think the red tape. You know, I constantly hear people saying that you can't get something done in Yuba County, built in Yuba County for 2 or 3 years, and by that time they've lost interest and moved on. I think streamlining the process would be awesome and would be something we need to do. Because when you streamline something, and it's going to take a lot of effort because there's a lot of departments that have to get involved, and there's a lot of things that have to be done. But that being said, we can do it. And I think that would be one of the top priorities. Thank you for the question.
We have to go through the rest of them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. As I've answered in a previous question, the coordination of actual making the fees and the different structures that are required when you go into a building process with Yuba County, we could actually work directly to do that. I don't know if we're going to have to pass an ordinance, but we may be able to just put it together. Right? So that to me makes the biggest difference, simplifying and streamlining it.
So what I've learned is that certainty is something that business people and builders want. They want the certainty of being able to see the end of the project, you know, develop, or whether it's their doors open. And one of the examples I can give to you is one of the local businesses that came to Olivehurst. It was by a family who was at the flea market. They built up their money, and they wanted a brick and mortar building. The problem was a language barrier. And so they came to me and asked me if I could help. And what I did is I brought all the county services. I brought, you know, public works, environmental health, planning department. I even brought the county administrator, but I also brought an interpreter. And in an hour's time, we solved all the issues and knew what needed to be done. If this family would have went into the county with the language barrier that they had, they probably wouldn't have opened at all because they would have become very frustrated. So I think certainty is how we do it, communications, helping to guideline and streamline the process. It's not always the fees that stop a business. It's sometimes the miscommunication of government and business. And that's where I think I'm really good at, because I'm a business person. And that's all, folks.
So we recently went through a general plan update. During that period of time, it took 4 years to accomplish it. And in that experience, one of the headlines that was on the territorial dispatch was that our general plan weighed 6 pounds and 6 ounces. And I kind of thought if we could get an extra 6 in there, it really would be the devil's work. You know, but really, when you look at that, today, we rinsed out probably close to 3 pounds of that general plan. We actually became less restrictive, more interpretive, and we started opening up to things like a curves business that has very little parking requirements. We adjusted what our views were on workout centers. That was part of a wave of 8 new businesses in the South County. We also followed that up with our development code, which was recently resolved. And in that process, we reduced just about every fee that comes with construction. We believe, from response from people building in Yuba County, we have turned that corner. And if you'd like, in a future meeting, I'd be happy to bring out some businesses that can make that assertion for you. Yep.
This is one I knew was going to be on there. The marijuana ordinance was passed by the current supervisors. Would you continue to support the ordinance, and are there any changes to the ordinance that you would champion?
Thank you for the question. One of the things that we need to focus on is listening to the people's will and what they want to do. And what we have here is an ordinance that has got a lot of feedback. So right now, the issues, there are several issues before the voters. And if I'm going to be the true voice of the people, I'm going to have to let them share and speak on it. And how they're going to speak is through the ballot box. So that's where I'm at with that. Personally, it's an issue that responsible regulation always makes sense. But it's up to the voters right now.
Okay, Mary Jane, do you have the time to devote to county business, which includes not only board meetings, but numerous committee meetings and community events?
Yes, I do, and I have for the last 16 years. You know, because I live in my district and I work in my district, and the business that we own is a diner, where else do you speak about community and civic issues over the coffee counter? That's the luxury that I have, is that I have immediate reaction. If something's in the newspaper that we discussed the day before, guess what? I get to hear from the folks that live in my district. And we have that discussion. It's not just a one-way discussion. It's just not me saying this is what we're doing. It's actually the interaction that we have. And I think that's what really representation is all about, is having that discussion, them understanding the decisions I make, and me understanding their perspective as well. So I have that luxury of being able to interact on a daily basis with the people that I serve.
Okay, my turn. From the audience, John, since you're up next, it'll be yours. We have many historic buildings that are deteriorating. One building actually collapsed due to lack of upkeep. How might any of you work with these owners to repair these historic structures?
I feel like this was some sort of a trick. Maybe I bribed you somehow, Bob, but you know, we have been involved in old buildings in the city of Marysville since our first restaurant in 1972. We've restored the buildings that now house the Silver Dollar. It was Nicoletti's that it became the Beehive. We're very, very involved and intimate with most all those addresses in the downtown sector. We did lose the Chiselers Inn building, and because of its construction, it pulled down the building next to it as well. And that was tragic, and we've had nothing but vacant lots since then. But I'll tell you that it was recently revealed at the Cigar Box that the wall on its exterior was not sustainable, and it was too ready to fall, and it had a threat of losing their insurance coverage. And so they didn't have the money to fix the wall. There was an estimated $30,000 needed. And they had also said that it would likely tear down or pull down the next 2 buildings next to it and destroy them. So through the efforts of work I put in with the EDC, joined up with the director, Brenda Stranix, we did get board approval. We set aside the money in the form of a loan to shore up that wall. We built it up, And those 3 businesses are open today. We absolutely get involved in that stuff.
This is going to be an all question. I'm not sure who I go to first.
It would be Jay.
It would be Jay.
Okay, all right. The general plan of Yuba County was formulated with Agenda 21, now called 2030, as a major consideration. Will you support the Agenda 21, now 2030 plan?
You know, he was just talking a few minutes about the general plan, they just redid it. And when you redo the general plan, it's a living document. And when something changes, you have to change with the time. And so if 23 wants it changed and by law or by the stipulation of what needs to be done, then yes, you have to do it. But again, going back to what I've always said and I always stand for, is there's a time when you have to look at everything and decide what's the best. And if you think that it's the best, then you need to go and try to get it changed through the state and try to get cooperation with them and do that. Thank you for the question.
With respect, oh, there we go. With respect to Agenda 21, and what it actually is they talk about sustainable development. Okay, and there's a couple of ways to think about it. But sustainable development makes a little sense. But the way that Agenda 21 was laid out, it has what we call a fear factor that some see, and the fear factor is hidden and found in biodiversity. Okay. So for us to be aware of the situation is one thing. For us to stop and not participate in that plan is the best move for me, because it actually endures our freedoms, and without our freedoms we can't make choices. So again, I seek to be the voice of the people so they could actually make that choice.
So as John stated before, our general plan was 4 years in the making, and because of that, we had lots of public community input on this plan, looking at how we want to live in the future, where we want it to grow, where we want farmland to occur, grazing land, and so forth. There's different elements of the general plan that we look at, aesthetics, air quality, housing, transportation, and so forth. And really, it's guided by the laws that, the state of California puts out there. In fact, when our general plan was done, we also have to take it to the clearinghouse in the state of California. San Bernardino decided that they weren't going to follow the plan and the way the state of California has given us guidelines on this. They got sued, and the taxpayers of San Bernardino suffered the consequences. So, it's always that input between the community and what we're doing and how the laws kind of guide us in this direction. We want to make sure that the taxpayers are safe and sound when it comes to legal issues. And so we did take our time, 4 years, lots of communications, and staying guided. We never got challenged once on our general plan, saving the taxpayers money.
So Agenda 21 for me has become just a tip of the iceberg. If you have any new construction, if you build a new home, you have to put in fire suppression systems. It adds serious dollars to the cost of your home construction. That's everywhere in the state of California. And the reason that is because just about 90%, 95% of the general plan of every county in California is guided by the state of California, not by the local community. We have far less discretion over our building codes. The things that really are alarming to me that we can put our hands around and really begin to deal with locally are, where we want to build and how we anticipate growth in the future. This state stopped building infrastructure when the state was at 17 million people. Today we're quickly approaching 40 million people. That overrides. We have a very complex system of infrastructure that has to get dealt with immediately. We know it in our roads, we know it in our water supply, and we also know it in our power supply. Thank you.
Okay, this is another all question, and we'll start with mine. Do you support or oppose the implementation of Common Core standards in Yuba County?
Has anybody here taken a Common Core math? And if I was to represent the people's voice, we just heard chuckles. So that's my answer.
I haven't had young children in my house in a long time, so I haven't had to do the homework, but I know my sister does, and you know, she has complained bitterly about this. I'm kind of old school when it comes to, you know, writing and arithmetic and language, and so I don't know if I'm qualified to really answer that question.
I'm a founding board member of Paragon Collegiate Academy. I'm also the current board president for that group. And we were forced to implement Common Core as we were opening up that charter. One thing that was glaring for me was that beyond the fact that we had changed the structure and the approach of studies and homework studies for the students, there was no support material for the teachers. Still parts of it don't exist yet today. We're a couple of years into this Common Core without the full implementation and the full complete foundation that the instructors need to do this. I'm a firm believer in the 3 R's. I remember one year a young boy who won the National Spelling Program came from a one-room schoolhouse in a small town in Nebraska, and they asked him why he became such a good speller. It was because in his mind, in that one-room schoolhouse, he did, you know, the 2nd grade 6 times, did the 3rd grade 6 times, did the 4th grade 6 times. He really studied and really began to grasp and understand the basics, and it took him to a national level. I'm comfortable with our foundation in education.
Common Core needs to go, bottom line. What's happening is that the teachers are teaching that test and nothing else. And that's sad. You know, when they are constantly teaching that material and nothing else, our kids are losing it. All the teachers at the Wheatland High School, all the teachers at the middle schools, and they want to get back to the basics. Our kids don't even know how to sew a hem, or sew, or hem, or cook, iron. Let's get back to the basics and teach them what they need to know. Go back to teaching them how to balance a checkbook. Although now we don't do checkbooks, we still do, we do the ATM card and all that stuff, but there's still, you've got to learn that stuff to balance your house. And the same thing applies in accounting. You've got to apply, you've got to balance everything. And so I think the Common Core has got to go. Thank you for the question.
Okay, my turn. This, and it works out just fine, because this question was specifically for Mike Leahy, so I will ask it to Mike. Mike, what is your view about small business having signs in Marysville, or basically the signing ordinance for Marysville?
It's like he does pick the ones for the right people. The policy we have, the signage policy we have right now is approximately 10 pages long in Marysville. I happen to be on the planning commission for Marysville. And it's a bit prohibitive for the businesses of their own. And as we're speaking today, there's a committee formed that's including the local business owners to review the sign ordinance right now. And that actually occurred because I brought it back up saying it was prohibited. So I want to make changes in the right direction, but it requires the people's input. And that's what I do. Thank you.
Mary Jane, what is your position on transparency in government and the right of the public to question the supervisor's actions?
What's my opinion?
What is your position?
Oh, what's my position? Oh,
on
yeah, I think that that's what we're here for, is to, you know, be able to be transparent. Anything that we have, documents, emails, conversations that pertain to the work that we do at the county level should be always viewed in the county, you know, in the county by the residents that we represent, or even outside of the area where we represent. Transparency is paramount in regards to what we do at government.
Thank you.
Okay, John, how will you address the condition of the homeless in Yuba County?
Thank you. So I have been very involved. I'm on an ad hoc committee. We went down with the escort of Sergeant Garza to do ride-alongs. We studied just how large the issue is of current. We sent down an assessment team with representatives from our Health and Human Services, a couple of other departments, our code enforcement, our sheriff's department. We've got a pretty elaborate analysis. We've actually hired on people to specifically work that issue. We are coordinating with the city of Marysville, and now we have taken the lead to coordinate with the region, along with Sutter County and Yuba City, to address that issue. Largely, we have found that 2 out of 10 have alcohol issues, 7 out of 10 have drug issues that they discuss. All the myriad of folks that are made up of that community are something I think we all understand, but clearly housing is an essential piece of this, and we have to focus that first in order to create land free of homeless people coming through our businesses and our homes.
Okay, my turn. Again, I want to preface, folks, these questions were given by the audience. I haven't added words, I haven't changed words, I haven't deleted words, and they're specifically from the audience. So here they go. The last question I asked was for Mike. The next one will be for Mary Jane. Mary Jane, how can each supervisor vote for an 85% pay raise during the high unemployment of Yuba County?
So one of the things when I first came onto the board, I think I received $1,200 a month. And basically I thought it was only Tuesday job, you know, or cutting ribbons at, you know, store openings, or being in a parade and waving to the folks attending. But I'll tell you, it's not. And one of the supervisors at the time says, you know, you get out of it what you put into it. And for my district, we had a long ways to go. I mean, I'm a business person and have been for many, many decades. And I saw good people leaving our community, ones that contributed to our community. So, you know, if you want good people making tough decisions and being leaders, you're going to have to pay them. You cannot, you know, pay them nothing, because that's, you know what, you get what you pay for. And so it was tough, and we took a lot of criticism. But if you want good leadership, you're going to have to pay folks at least a wage, because there is a lot of time commitment to this job. I sit on 12 different commissions. I'm at a meeting every single day. I cook at the diner in the morning. I'm a county supervisor in the afternoons, the evenings, and on weekends as well. I do everything that I possibly can to make sure that my district is represented, and you can see the difference in my district over 16 years. My experience has made a big difference. That's how I justify it. Thank you.
Would you like me to jump at that? I'm in the same boat, voted for that.
That's up to Bob.
No, we'll just continue to the next question, Don.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next question is to Kip J. Would you consider changing the supervisors' meetings to the evenings to allow for greater public participation?
You know what? Thank you for asking me that question, and yes, I would. Here's the deal. People work, and they work most of the people work day jobs. And I understand why the current supervisors did it, because they wanted to save money. However, you're not allowing the customers, which is the county residents, the opportunity to come in, okay? And you've got to do that. And to do that, you got to have the evening meetings. To save money, they can take comp time for it, or whatever the case may be, all right? But yes, I am, and thank you for asking me that question.
Okay, this is the last question we have, Bob, so I'll ask that, and then
it's all mine.
it's all yours, yeah. Okay, Mike, what is your position on the Groundwater Fairness Act initiative?
Thank you. The Groundwater Fairness Act initiative that was just filed and is now coming up, my position is it gives the opportunity for the actual owners of the water to get something in return. Very valued, but we have to remember that people are who I seek to represent. So if the people have something to gain and a sort of a payback in a manner, I believe that's a great idea.
Okay, I think we lost Bob.
Bob is returning, he just had another,
Okay.
I'm responding to the boss, okay? Okay, folks, we'll start, this one here will be then for John, because I asked Mary Jane the last question. John, what are the risks and what are the benefits of a career politician?
So the risk of a career politician is probably within the, the title career politician. For me, I have always believed that you're either in it for service or you're in it for self. And I think the difference when a career politician is there in it for themselves. I remind myself that service is the most important angle, and for that, I choose to use my background in culinary and my access to local nonprofits to help them raise money throughout the year, because it gives me an opportunity to see 100 to 200 people at a time and visit with them. I think it's intimidating to go into the government center to state your case to the council when there's 5 of them, and it's just an environment you're not comfortable with. But when I come in this building with the Marysville Little League, then people are feeling much more casual, and I feel and hear unfiltered discussion and can respond to those issues and follow up rather quickly. So I try to make it available. If you have, if you don't have room in your heart for service, then leadership is beyond you.
Very good. Jay, your turn. Why 16?
Oh, I thought it was the same question. Go ahead, I'm sorry, sir.
Not a problem. I made plenty of mistakes tonight, so thank you for joining me.
Okay, not a problem. I'm human.
When I proved it tonight, I'm human. Why $16 million for a roundabout in Aldhurst instead of putting these monies for city roads such as 5th Street?
So, here's the deal. I was stationed over in England and where roundabouts are used. Roundabouts over there are very, very good because they have learned to drive in them from the day they were born. They understand them. So the new concept several years ago was to bring the roundabouts here to the United States and in the local areas. They need to stay out of here. These people do not know how to use a roundabout, and they are not going to learn because it's hard to change an old horse or old habit. It doesn't matter. They do not need to be brought in here. They are not being used efficiently. And the reason is, again, we don't learn how to use them. And so there's your answer.
Thank you. Very gentle.
Can I just clarify something?
Absolutely, since it's your district, yes ma'am.
Thank you. It's $1 million. It's not $16 million.
Again, I read the question, but thank you for your clarification.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify because that is a crazy number.
Yes, it is.
And,
and when we heard that was the case, it was a really crazy number.
Yeah, that is crazy, and I just wanted to make sure that that didn't go unchecked. Thank you.
$1 million or 16, still they got to go.
That's your opinion.
Okay, moving back to the form, first debate. Thank you. Last question, and it'll be for all, goes back to Jefferson State, because our Yuba Tea Party is very pro-Jefferson State. Have you attended any State of Jefferson meetings? And we'll start with Mike.
No, I have not. Not that I can recall.
Okay, very good. Mary Jane?
No, I haven't.
John?
Yes, I have.
And Jay?
No, I have not, but I have read up on it.
Okay. Just a couple of comments for Jefferson State for you folks out here. Since the Tea Party, Yuba the Tea Party Patriots and the Sutter Taxpayers Associate hosts this, we just want to make a couple of comments, and they're free, these comments are. First of all, we do stand for Jefferson State, and it is financially viable. Next comment, the role of government is to protect the rights given us by our Creator. I just had one little thing, side note, is I'm a member of a church up in the foothills. And in questioning some of the fees, for building fees and so forth, I found it extremely interesting that we're adding on about 16 feet to our auditorium just to fit the existing folks we have. And one of the permit fees was vagabond dust. Now, vagabond dust my understanding, is because we're building something and we're creating dust. Okay, and so now we have to pay because we're creating dust. Okay, so every road, every car that goes down a gravel road should be paying a vagabond fee. Every person that digs a hole in dry dirt should pay a vagabond fee. So I guess my challenge to current supervisors, upcoming supervisors, take a look at the fees. And are some of them legitimate? Absolutely they are. Are some of them to the point of ridiculous? Vagabond dust? Absolutely they are. So just a challenge. I also want to take a moment to thank, sincerely, our incumbent supervisors for being here tonight. For your service, Mary Jane, for your service, John. And again, it is an open forum. I'm not endorsing anyone, I promise you. But I just want to thank you publicly for your work. Now we'll go ahead and have our closing statements, and this time we'll start with Jay, and then work our way down.
Let me turn to my page here. You got me off guard here. Okay, so I believe I'm the best candidate for this position because I bring a lot of experience, passion, and heart to the table. I have experience with city services and feel moving up is better. With the experience and different views from city matters will only make me stronger dealing with the community or the county departments and challenges. I feel the county needs direction and a vision. I've already helped the city of Wheatland with their award-winning vision and can assist the county with theirs. People and employees need to know where they're going. The Prop 215 ordinance needs to be rescinded and some other plan of the attack taken. Putting liens on property owners is not the answer. My resume speaks for itself. Dedication in the community, long-term commitment to things that I get involved, and level-headed decisions. I work and live in the community I will serve. Therefore, I have constant contact with all my constituents if a problem arises. I will be there to respond to the community needs when needed. I know how to email, check social media, and keep in touch with my constituents. I have a voice that will be heard, as you've heard tonight. I know you all heard me very clear. I don't want to call someone to call me up and say, Jay, you remember that campaign contribution I gave you? And this is coming up on the agenda. I respectfully decline any campaign contributions, as I truly want to be the voice of the people and the citizens of District 4. I have served our nation. Now I'm ready to serve our county. And thank you for this forum tonight.
John, go ahead, please.
Okay. I've served for a while, and it's been a huge learning experience. There's a few things that I would like to discuss, in addition to the fact that I hope that I get your attention and your vote for this coming up election. When we gave ourselves the 85% raise, it came at a time that the supervisors were getting $19,000 a year. So I didn't join up or run initially for the expansive, luxurious standard of living, but what I did decide to do is engage myself. We have the option to assign people to different working committees. I'm on 24 boards and commissions. I avoid assigning somebody out that which I can serve and be that representative for, and I commit to that time. Now, in Yuba County, because this is always a political hot potato, a long time ago they attached supervisors' salaries to the judges' salaries. The judges in Yuba County started at a base of $180,000 a year. So we're supposed to be one half of the judge's salary. So that was when we were at $19,000 a year. That's not close to half. What we were trying to achieve was to come up a bit. We did come up a bit, and without our knowledge, the state gave the judges a raise. They're all making over $200. That raise incrementally happens to the supervisors. It's not up for discussion. The state did this for stabilization, if you will. But here in Yuba County, we make $48,000 a year. It's been stated in the local tabloids that I make $1 million in this process. I had the auditor pull all of my pay stubs and the time that I've been in service, and he pulled up $547,000 worth. Not sure what that divides into. If I agreed to do it for 50 cents, I would have done it. I think we have to look at the reality of what it takes to raise a family and live in a community and decide if we want to have just one class of people that can afford to work below that level, or people that are actually engaged and participating in the community, raising families that can also make enough living to make it through.
Thank you, John. Mary Jane.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Tea Party for giving us an opportunity to come and talk to the folks out here. And, you know, I know that many of the others have mentioned their families, and I forgot to mention mine. So, you know, I'm married to a veteran of the United States Air Force. He retired out of Beale Air Force Base. We've been married. In fact, I had to win my first election before I would accept his proposal. You know, that's how much I love my community. But I also love my husband. And, you know, he's been a very big supporter of this, as well as my family, my mom and my dad, you know, and my children. And so they're very proud of the work that I've done in the community. As I stated before, all of us looks a lot different now. You know, it's about building the community, the pride, and how we see ourselves. That's what's important. How we see ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, and the businesses that we attract, the good examples that we set for our children to make sure that going to work is what you're expected to do. Going to school or serving your country. You know, not sitting around and watching TV. That's not productive at all, and that's not the example we want to set for our children. So if there are our 3rd District residents here, I hope I earned your support tonight. I go honestly, I bring a couple of footnotes, but really I'm speaking from the heart today, and so I hope that you know, you heard something that, you know, made you resonate with what I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane. And Michael.
Thank you again for allowing us to come here with this forum. It's nice to be able to put the stuff out there the way it really is. I can't say it enough that Marysville is in crisis. It's been in crisis for a while. It needs leadership at the county level. And the county level, with the focus of Marysville and West Linda, is what I hope to bring. I hope to bring the voice of the people forward, so when they have issues, they won't be falling on deaf ears. I hope to actually bring it forward to where I can participate in the county supervisor board and not have it stop listening or stopping the voice or the actions of the people. You know, there's been a lot of situations over the past that have created the county a lot of negative funding and, in other words, costs. You know, some of those things could be remedied by just listening to the people and actually allowing them a voice. So, as a supervisor, that would be my task, my primary mission, to actually become the voice of the people and listen to them when they talk. And what's better than that is I actually get to remember what they say. So if you believe in having a voice of you, I would urge people to select me for Yuba County Supervisor District 2.
Thank you, candidates, so very much for your attention. Please, folks, give them an applause for the